Good afternoon, everybody. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. It's October 26, 2024. And I just wanted to respond to an email that I just received. It's really out of the blue, but it doesn't surprise me because when people take things out of context and don't understand the communication sometimes between me and other people, it's easy to take offense to something that somebody says. Now, I received an email. I'm just going to read it to you guys, but before I do, please hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel grow, get the message out there. And anybody that has an issue with anything that's discussed, whether it's on my channel or anybody else's channel for that matter, rather than take things personally, think about the context, okay? So this is the email that I received. I just want to tell you, I will have the chat tonight, approximately 10:15-ish, whatever. That is Eastern time. So the email I received was from somebody who is a fairly regular either contributor or emailer, I guess over the last year or so. And I guess you would consider a TI alleged friends, through email and stuff, not somebody that I've met in person or anything like that. So the heading is Your Chat with Richard, and she's referring to Richard Moore. Now, Richard Moore has interviewed me a couple of times. Now, he has a different style than a lot of people. He's got a different background. He's got different experience with being targeted from childhood and within his family. So we're completely different people. We have different styles. Obviously you could see that, but we're both targeted people and we're both trying to present the truth. So the reason we had our last interview was because I had this series of harassments from Scarlett Marks, my neighbor. She drove back and forth 4 times. I videotaped her. I said nothing. And she's screaming out her window at me, honking the horn. She calls me a heifer. Just weird, just bizarre stuff. And this is what the stalkers do. It's all a projection, right? So this is the response. This is an email I get out of the blue. So let me just read this to you. And I'm not going to respond other than that it was taken out of context. And the response that it was taken out of context. And, this is what happens when, let's say you'll listen to an interview and maybe the interviewer, like Richard, has some information, new information that maybe you guys were not aware of yet. So maybe taken out of context, if you don't know, if you didn't view the video of Scarlett going back and forth and calling me a heifer. But anyway, so this is an email I just received out of the blue this evening, just a few minutes ago. Well, I guess it goes without saying that I will not be assisting when your homesteading moves. I did not realize you had an issue with obese people. I'm sure the chat with Richard was for a targeted audience. And as much as I shouldn't be shocked or take personal in any way, since being in this program has made me aware of many dark realities, I was still affected. I was a cute redhead with a good body for almost 40 years, and I honestly am trying to think of a time I laughed about fat people with friends, or publicly on my social media, and I can't remember one. Even now, as I curse perps, I struggle to be randomly cruel to people, so the program hasn't destroyed me yet. With all your professional training and education, you are, I'm sure, aware of the use of different addictions to deal with pain. Psychological and physical, with many TIs having both pains. Of course, it's a choice for people to smoke, drink, drug, stuff their faces, but sadly, addicts don't admit that they're doing more harm to themselves and the pains never completely go away. Still my own fault, she says. 2, that I haven't listened to the inner voice telling me to stay away from social media, expecting any support from the TI contact. Fool me once? Shame on you. Fool me twice? Yup, my bad. I'm not a witch or a biatch, but I do think that that having a saying that seems appropriate for myself and others. May everything you send out to the universe come back to you times 10. Well, thank you so much, Kat, and I'll just call you out on it because I'm an honest person. Yours. I don't know what your problem is, but obviously you didn't hear the context of the situation. And I didn't say anything about obese people. Richard did. Richard knows that I work out, I'm in shape and stuff. And he knew from from starting the interview, because I sent him the video, that my neighbor called me a heifer. So it was a big joke. Okay? But unfortunately, you took it personally. So perhaps the inside joke should not have been aired publicly. So for anybody out there that was insulted by what Richard said about obese people, which I didn't say, by the way, it didn't come out of my mouth. I don't care what somebody's weight is. It's not my problem. If somebody wants to be overweight, there are a lot of people that can't control their weight. They have a thyroid issue. And then with all the targeting, it can affect your cortisol levels, your thyroid, and we don't know. But the food supply is horrible, and people do smoke, drink, and do drugs. I never have. I'm not going to now in my 60s. If anybody wants to smoke, drink, or do drugs, that's your problem. That's your issue, something that you will have to deal with. It will shorten your life. It will affect you more as a targeted person. And that's certainly your choice. It's anybody's choice. And I've always said, because I have studied addiction, I've studied it intensely. Okay? I've studied for decades. I've known addicts, spoken with addicts, interviewed addicts. Okay? Initially, it's a choice. It's always a choice. And then what happens is people think, oh, I could do it once, I could do it twice. Oh, it's never going to affect me. But you never know when it's your day. And that one last hit or drink or whatever is going to put you over the edge to the point of no return. Which is why I say, don't start to begin with. Don't even test the waters. Right? But that's me. That's from my experience. That's from my education. That's from my professional background, okay? Are there people that smoke, drink, and do drugs and don't become addicted? Yes, there are. There are a lot of people out there that have total control over their consumption, over their bodies. They may or may not be a targeted person, but they have the mindset that it's... However, the fortitude, whatever you want to call it. But I do take offense to your accusations, your accusatory email here, okay? Well, I guess it goes without saying that you will not be assisting me when I move. Hey, that's quite all right. I never begged for your assistance. I never asked for it, okay? And when I move, I won't let you know about it, okay? I don't have an issue with obese people. I don't have an issue with skinny people. I don't have an issue with tall people, short people. Why? I could care less what you look like. I don't care if you're purple, if you're black, you're white, you're brown, yellow. I could care less. I'm not a bigot. I'm not religious. I'm not biased. I don't care what you look like. Don't care. But if you want to take offense to a comment that Richard made towards me as a result of my neighbor perpetrator calling me a heifer, go right ahead. You can live in your delusion, okay? And I'm sorry. I'm sorry you feel that way, okay? We're all targeted. We all have a choice. And you also had a choice to not send me that email. You had a choice to keep it to yourself and ruminate on it. But you chose instead to project your issues onto me because of something you heard Richard say in the context of what happened to me personally. Okay? So it was basically a personal joke that probably should not have been on the video. And you know what? I'll mention it to him. In fact, maybe I'll give him a call and tell him how you feel about the comment that he made. Okay? You took it out of context. And I'm sorry you feel that way. But no, I don't really care how tall, fat. I could care less. I gained 62 pounds when I was pregnant. I look like a heifer. I look like a pregnant heifer. I was huge. Even my mother says, you're the fattest, you're the heaviest pregnant person I've ever seen. Yeah, that's what my mother said. Well, yeah, 62 pounds on my little body is pretty big. But no, I don't care. But thank you for bringing it to my attention that you were so offended by a comment Richard made and that you took it out of context and I said it. Go back and listen to it. I never said the word obese. I never said it. He did. And he said it in context of the fact that I was accused of being a heifer. So, enough of that. But anyway, let's see. So, let's see. I have been in contact with an individual, a targeted female. And I'm just going to say, and this is what's been happening to a lot of people lately, okay? They have been targeting my eyes since the middle of May. So I've mentioned it to this targeted female. She says she had a similar injury near her eye. She said a National Guard chopper happened to fly very close by when it happened. I mean, just a coincidence, right? It made 2 passes by. She did get a photo of her eye and a screenshot of the chopper's location from the radar website. She just needs to be able to find them. And then she has her chin, because we've been exchanging photos, because these are photos that I can't really share on YouTube. And even in the chat, there's no way for me to show you photos. So, you know, for anybody that doubts that I'm a targeted person, I've got photos out of the kazoo of what they're doing to my body. Okay? And yeah, I mean, okay, so this woman says, oh, she was a cute little redhead. Well, you know what? I was a beautiful little brunette with a hot body, totally hot body, perfect skin, perfect hair, big brown hazel eyes, and they have destroyed me. I was a hand model at one time. They're destroying my hands, my toenails, my feet. If I showed you, you wouldn't even believe it. Okay? So yeah, this program totally sucks. So anyway, so I sent her photos of what they've been doing to me. And you know, this is why you really need to take photos of your body at different times and in different lighting. Because I took a photo of my face, the lower portion of my face that they've been targeting and causing it to droop. But while I was taking a photo of that, I caught something that I didn't see while I was taking the photograph. And what it was on my chin, there's actually a grid. There's a grid on my chin. So she says, my chin has similar injuries to yours, as does the rest of my face. Like, I have little holes in my face. Now, mind you, like I said, my skin, I had perfect skin. I didn't, like, break out or anything like that. I didn't have pimples. I didn't, you know, I had really beautiful skin. All the women in my family do. That's just like a genetic thing or whatever. Or maybe it's a result of diet and exercise and skincare. Okay? So, had no wrinkles until I moved here. 0. People would comment, like, how come you, even boyfriends, like, you know, you're 60 years old, you have no wrinkles. I said, I don't go in the sun, and I eat healthy. Until I moved here to rural Kentucky. So, she says, my skin all over my body is extremely thin and crepey from being microwaved and dewed. It's not a function of age. I agree. Although that may be somewhat of a factor because wrinkles do happen, but they happen to her instantly when she gets hit. She also gets hit in the head, causing lightheadedness, dizziness, nausea, fatigue. That's exactly what happens to me. It's like a concussion, a TBI. the crown of her head feels really indented where I've been hit, where she's been hit. I have the same thing. Like my head, like when I go to scratch it or rub my fingertips through it, I have cavities on the skull. Usually, like years ago, my skull was perfectly shaped. It was like this perfectly oval or round or whatever you want to call it. Now it's indented. And she says the same thing. She says the crown of her head is really indented where she's been hit. She says, I feel like my brain isn't as sharp as it used to be. I really struggle finding words and remembering things sometimes. Also, my balance isn't as good as it used to be a couple of years ago. She said, I noticed today that her little dog has a perfect, round, deep injury on his abdomen. I'm assuming those demons did it. She put antibiotic on it. Fortunately, it doesn't seem to bother him too much, but I'm worried. She said the photo's attached. I didn't see it yet. Let me see. Oh my. Okay, let me show you. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you what it looks like in case this happens to your pets. Okay, I have seen this before. They've done these holes to Bandit, my rooster, and my cat Chiclet. They burned a hole in Chiclet's face, but it wasn't red like this. It was black, like it was charred. So let me show you. That's a little dog, and this is what it looks like. That's the little dog burn. Okay, so let me scroll up here. And this is just to validate things that are happening to you guys. And also, a Weeping Willow posted a video today about the directed energy weapons. She was like having a cup of coffee, you know, relaxing outside, and then suddenly she gets hit with an energy weapon and she can't breathe. But she knows that it's an energy weapon. She knows that it's not congenital or anything like that. She knows she's not sick. And when that happens to you, you have to get up and move. And that's one of the problems that I have when I do the live stream, is that I'm getting hit a lot when I'm doing the live and I can't move, right? So anyway, she said, let's see. Lead panels seem to help block DEWs, directed energy weapons. That you could buy rolled lead on Amazon and wrap it in duct tape, and it would hold over the head when an aircraft flies over. The lead is very heavy and cumbersome, so she stopped using it. And at least while she's traveling around. She said, but you're right about them amping up the assault in terms of how frequent they do it and the workarounds they use. For instance, they'll nail you when your guard may be down for just an instant. I feel like they ramp up the intensity of the weapons too. Well, I agree with that. And see, the one thing that I have no control over, and this is a problem, is that they put me to sleep with radio frequencies. And every time I wake up from that, I feel disoriented. I feel off balance. They hit my genitals. They're all heated up. Like, this is sick, depraved perverts that are doing this. Now she says there was a blog a few years ago. She can't remember the name of a young man discussed using medical radiation shielding, and that's why she bought it. He also discussed cryptos. You may know the blog. A couple of years later, I found his site again, and he removed all the articles about shielding and replaced it with a statement that it doesn't work. Oh, well. Either they ramped up the intensity on him, therefore it quit working, or the perps got to him and told him to take it down. Yeah, I don't know who that is. There are so many targeted people out there that experiment with shielding, what works, what doesn't work. But think of it this way. Back in the 70s, there was something called lead-based paint. And then suddenly they wanted it removed. They said it was toxic and children were eating the paint chips, which I don't know about that. Maybe paint chips would fall and maybe a child would pick it up thinking it's interesting. But I don't really think that that's the real reason. I think that the real reason was they wanted to remove the lead-based paint knowing what was coming. And what was coming was going to be EMFs and radio frequencies and targeting, and Wi-Fi. So the lead-based paint is actually what shields your home. And the same thing with screens on your windows. Like the old screens on your windows were actually made of a metal, but now they're like a plasticky PVC type of mesh. It's not going to shield you from anything. And I know Zachos Breedlove Ewing did a video on the way you can shield your house is by installing metal screens and connecting them with like a copper wire, like around your whole house. Something to that effect. Or I would imagine like the old time apartment buildings had those bars on the windows, but then of course they became a fire security risk because you wouldn't be able to open up your windows to exit out. But still, you know, that is another way of preventing preventing or shielding your house if you want to install those. I mean, it would be very, very expensive, and there would be that issue, so you might not be able to do it on all of your windows. Now, she said there's a female, I'm not going to mention the name. Let me see. You know what, I can't actually say this. Oh, okay. So, yeah, she was saying, you know, that in the targeting community, that there are various targeted people, I mean, that are truly targeted. But then they call other people perps and agents. That's happened to me, too. Like, I had one woman say, well, anybody that lives in a house is not targeted. Well, that's not true. That's not true. There are so many targeted, like, young people out there that didn't live as long as I did. They didn't work as long, okay? When you're in your 60s, you've worked job after job. You've accumulated things. You've bought and sold houses and stuff, right? When you're in your 30s, that's generally not happening. So for somebody in their 30s or even 40s to say, oh, well, if you live in a house, you're not targeted. Well, that's total BS. There are targeted people out there like Senator Rand Paul. He's a targeted person. There are a lot of targeted people out there that are millionaires. They're just targeted differently. Like, look at our presidential candidate or the former president. Is he not a targeted person? Come on. So what she's basically saying is that there are a couple of people in the community that are constantly accusing others of being perps. And that when people constantly do that, it kind of makes you believe that maybe they're a perp. That there are people out there that accuse, you know, Jeff the American Guinea Pig as being a perp. But I have to say that when he was at my house, I don't know if he is or isn't, you know, all I know is that he was targeted when he was at my house. When he was here, he was absolutely targeted. They entered his RV. They put a triangle, they cut a triangle in his bed sheets. The food that I gave to him, they threw it out of the van. I think maybe they even did something to his van while he was here. When he went into town, the sheriff's car was right there at the grocery store. He goes in and out, and somebody's been in and out of his van. He bought bananas for me. And by the time he got them to me, you know, he drives back and whatever, somebody sliced them. So, he's obviously targeted, you know. And it's unfortunate, you know. There are a lot of people out there that are not as targeted as other people, okay? Not everybody gets the same thing for different reasons, different age groups, and depending on when your targeting started. So a lot of these new people that are coming on, and like even David A. is interviewing them, he asks them usually, when did your targeting start? And one person said, oh, you know, around 2020. Well, let me tell you, folks, that person who's recognized that they was targeted in 2020 is not going to be at the same phase of the program as somebody like myself who's targeted since 2009 to 12. Okay? There are different phases of the targeting depending on who you are, depending on your activism, depending on your age, depending on your assets, etc., etc. Okay? So not everybody's going to get the same thing. Not everybody's enrolled in the program for the same reasons. You know, but a lot of people are getting the same stuff. And sometimes we can agree to disagree about those things, because I know that back in 2017 when I stumbled finally across what was happening to me and started getting in on those the free conference calls and stuff, I heard the most bizarre stuff, and I absolutely believed what that person was saying, but it wasn't happening to me. And I was like, thank God it's not happening to me. But all these years later, yeah, well, some of that shit is happening to me. So just because it's not happening to you now doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. And don't discredit somebody else's experience. The whole goal of this program is to make you sound like you're nutso. This is a psychological operation created by the intelligence community at the highest level of satanic ritual abuse, of trauma-based mind control, COINTELPRO, MK Ultra. It's just recycled with technology, and the technology's totally off the charts. It's gotten into the wrong hands. So fortunately, this woman that I'm communicating with is saying that she still has friends from the past for decades that she knows won't be turned. Well, my mother was like that. My mother was not going to turn against me. She was helping me, which is why they unalived her. So anyway, I'm going to end on that note because I'm reading some of this stuff is just a little bit more personal that I don't want to share. Yes, and I'm so glad she mentioned this. I'm going to end on this because I've been watching this on the side, okay? I don't know if you've heard of the guy Liam Payne from One Direction. They're claiming that he unalived himself. He fell off a balcony or whatever. I immediately, as soon as I heard that, I knew that that was not true. My intuition radar was like flaring. And then there are people in the online community that are discrediting him and stuff. But this woman writes to me, she says, I was just listening to Sloan Bella's most recent video about Liam Payne. She actually says he was gang stalked. It's towards the end of the video. She's a very talented psychic medium, and it's well worth listening to. Psychic medium or not, I absolutely believe that he was a victim of gang stalking. And unfortunately, you know, One Direction is a very popular group, but so is the Bee Gees. I'm sure you remember the Bee Gees, and how every couple of years just one of those healthy Bee Gees just died tragically. Well, rumor has it in the industry that in order to remain elevated, you have to, ritually abuse someone as a gift to Satan. Okay, I'm going to say that word because that's not the word that I mean. Hope you get my drift. It has to be a gift to Satan, gift to Lucifer. And they have to target somebody in the group in order to stay elevated. Rumor has it that that's what happened with the Bee Gees and other people. So, if I learn a little bit more about what happened to Liam Payne, I'll certainly, let you guys know. I've been too busy here. It's nearing fall here, and I've got, obviously, leaves everywhere. I've got to rake them, get them in piles, carry them to a burn pit, spreading straw all over the place. I've got my animals to feed every day, and I'm being targeted, put to sleep. And I'm trying to sell my house. I have not listed it on the MLS yet. It's that time of the year where, like, okay, so let's say I sell it now in October. Am I going to be able to find something somewhere else at this time of the year when most people are kind of hunkering down and then start back up again in January after the new year? I don't know. I would like to sell any time of the year. It doesn't matter, as long as I can find another place to live. But anyway, so Kat, I'm sorry you feel the way you do, that you didn't like my chat with Richard. I didn't use those words. Richard did. Go listen to the video again. And I'm sorry that you feel that I have some issue with obese people. I do not. I don't care what anybody's weight is. Don't care. I don't care what color you are. I don't care how tall you are, how short you are. It doesn't matter to me. Okay? Go listen to the video again. Go listen to the interview again. And it was basically an inside joke because I was called a heifer by my neighbor. Okay? So, I'm sorry you feel that way, but you don't have to contact me again. Sayonara. Anyway. I'm going to sign off for now. I hope everybody's doing well. And please leave your questions and comments down below. If there are topics that you want me to discuss, you can email me at alternativehomesteading@gmail.com. If you want to share your testimony in writing, again, email me at alternativehomesteading@gmail.com. At some point, I will set up a Zoom meeting. But right now, I don't have the funds to pay for it, so it would be a very basic Zoom meeting, which means that you get like a 40-minute session or 45 minutes for free. I don't have the time right now to focus on that. But if you have anything written that you'd like to share with me to read on the channel, I'm more than happy to read it. Anyway, this is Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading. This is a beautiful hummingbird signing off for now.